Despite some moderate changes for Season 7, spam comps are still super strong and ranked, just now with different heroes. Sigma, Sojourn, and Baptiste are 3 of the best, most played heroes right now, with powerful and flexible kits that help them deal tons of damage from range along with insane ways to mitigate damage as well. Here are the best ways to counter them, with 3 heroes to beat each of these top 3. For some more in-depth guides to these heroes, make sure to use the link in the description to get access to a GameLeap membership. With a variety of different courses from different coaches, there's a ton of coverage for all sorts of game knowledge. Use that link to try it out, and let's get right into the video. Starting with Sigma. For the tank matchup, Sigma has got great staying power and a special type of spam that can be applied almost all the time thanks to its bouncing and AoE. But Reinhardt is both the close range damage threat to force him out of his positions and the shield to mitigate the spam damage effects. You can play wholly for the objective and get value against Sigma. And with the extra shield health buff from a couple patches ago, you can really stick around to deal damage and hold important and powerful positions for a long time. Earth Shatter is pretty hard to block once your shield is being pressured as well, and there's almost no way to win in the 1v1. The only thing holding you back is your own skill, because Reinhardt still has to be patient into Sigma, and that discipline is hard to fully master. Blocking every accretion and going for aggressive swings every time you can isn't easy to pull off, but when you can put just a bit of effort into it, it's remarkably good at countering one of the best tanks recently. Having a large and high health pool shield also makes it difficult to follow up on gravitic fluxes, since you definitely can't solo flux Reinhardt, and his team will be protected by his shield if he's with them. Reinhardt can win out easily even by not swinging at all, and when he does, the matchup is even more favorable. You can block every point of damage from the Sigma, while still hitting him for swings through his shield and kinetic grasp. To DPS into Sigma, the best option is also the Brawl option, with Symmetra being ideal for pushing out Sigma all the way, and rather good at escaping him and keeping him busy as well. Without even starting on Symmetra's beam, her corner control is super powerful into a tank that can't play corners better than other heroes. Despite being good at taking space, Sigma really struggles to walk into a close range defensive setup like Symmetra has, since Symmetra is hard to lock down with accretion and also won't die to the accretion rock shoot melee one-shot combo. Her turrets are also a pain to focus down, not to mention that anytime you try to use your shield to take space, the Symmetra starts charging her beam and healing herself too. She's the ideal hero to stop a Sigma from taking space, and even has long range damage to poke out a shield just like any other hero at range when she can't play close without dying. Just like Reinhardt, she also has an option to escape gravitic flux, just with her teleporter to help her self-escape, and her team sometimes if you really want to go crazy. Her damage excels into Sigma, and with her wavy movement with quickly charging damage beam, she can easily put the Sigma on a timer, making it almost necessary to leave the area if you don't hit every skill shot on the sim, to be able to deal maximum damage to her. She wins the matchup super easy, so all you have to do is pick your battles wisely to win them all. And finally for the support matchup, it's not actually Lucio to speed past him and push him over, but Zenyatta to apply the Discord Orb and pressure him at range. Sigma may win the duel at close range, but it's unbelievably difficult to force it against a passive Zen player. Zenyatta gets a lot of value already just focusing down the Sigma shield and discording him whenever he peeks. Playing passive doesn't mean you're not in the fight. When playing against Sigma, who has to play so careful with damage mitigation to be able to push aggressively when he needs to, adding the extra Discord onto him makes it a lot harder to push forward with full shield and grasp ready to go, and will slow him down so he doesn't overwhelm you. Zenyatta's damage can also be fully applied with maximum DPS to a tank, so it goes well with his normal playstyle of effective damage. And with that effective damage, not only will you be forcing cooldowns and keeping the enemy tank at bay, but you'll also be building your ultimate, Transcendence, which is ideal for keeping you and your tank alive in the Sigma's gravitic flux. When you have the ultimate, you can look to use it aggressively and play up with your tank to make even more of an impact in the matchup. A healthy balance of being able to damage the tank enough as well as being able to help your own survive the enemy engage is really important to winning against durable heroes like Sigma, since sometimes just keeping up your own tank will eventually swing in your favor. Next up, we need to counter Sojourn, who while not being the most powerful and commonly played, is definitely the top hero with the least counters, or at least the least easy ways to counter her. The first hero to beat Sojourn, and in a really important way, is Kiriko. One of the biggest reasons why Sojourn is strong is her favorable hitbox. It's pretty narrow compared to previous hitscan heroes like Soldier 76 and Cassidy, and with a spray down primary fire, it's quite easy to land damage while dodging it at the same time. The simple thing Kiriko brings is that she wins the headshot duel easily, having an even smaller hitbox to abuse and kunais thrown at head height to increase the chance of headshots massively. Most supports don't have interaction with ranged DPS, only with the ones that actually come in and dive, but Kiriko straight up wins the 1v1, no problem, being able to dive herself. One of the things Sojourn's good at is playing aggressively and then using her power slide to fall back and keep fighting without being punished for being far up. But Kiriko's Kitsune Rush is capable of chasing that whole way, since the size of the fire rate, speed boosting, and cooldown reducing area is quite long. She can cover a lot of distance and win every duel, which is way more than a support needs to do against a hero like Sojourn. She also still has the utility left of an immensely powerful hero, not only countering Sojourn, with her protective Suzu and Swift Step that can save both herself and an ally while still threatening the Sojourn with the duel. For the DPS, one of the best heroes to beat her out in the duel is Genji, who's got the speed required to follow up and pressure the Sojourn wherever she goes. Sojourn doesn't have the close range movement or sustainability like Cassidy and Soldier 76 has to be able to tank a Genji engage. and rather she has to slide away almost every time. That powerful ability to be able to force out the Sojourn so often is definitely underrated, since not only will you be able to do it for every slide, but the Sojourn waiting to stay in despite having gauge on her makes it more viable to get quick one-shots with shuriken headshots at close range. Sojourn may have the better ultimate, but she's weak to being hit with a dive without her cooldowns, being rather easy to isolate from her team with a barrier, especially from the helpful tank that also wins the 1v1, Winston. Winston isn't the best lately, but underneath all the crazy shotgun heroes, he's still the optimal backline assassination hero, and is the pinnacle of all the very good dive comps right now. Sojourn is pretty difficult to rein in, but she's still weak to getting caught in a bubble. When Sojourn is played against 3 characters that win the 1v1 against her, all you have to do is pressure her for one of them to force her back, then jump on her with the other 2 when she has no slide. It's a bit of a team effort, but Winston himself can handle Sojourn pretty well every time with a primal, and at the very least it's a good way to counter Sojourn's overclock, which is crazy good for getting picks normally. Just be careful to not overstay your welcome, since you can only tank 7 fully charged overclock shots before dying in your primal, and that's without considering any other damage from the rest of her team. And finally, to counter Baptiste, he's been way too unbeatable for way too long. Even with his regen burst nerfed, he's the king at surviving through powerful engages and having the damage potential to keep tanks reeling and tag out flankers. His mobility is also ideal for dodging a duel, making it harder to flat out hit him in the first place, being able to jump over slam based abilities on the ground. To beat him with a DPS, one of the best options is actually Soldier 76. Dive heroes like Sombra or Genji fall more into the trap of being committed onto the engage that usually is going to fail, thanks to Baptiste's regen burst and immortality field. Soldier 76 is able to flank and force cooldowns no problem, without having to get in any sort of danger. Soldier is unique in his burst damage from the flank, and he also has the bonus of being able to almost one-shot the lamp with his rocket, only needing a few shots after to break it fully, and the splash damage dealing damage to the Baptiste at the same time. Sometimes Soldier really is the best flanker, even without fully jumping into the enemy team with blinks or dashes, but just approaching from behind or the side with a lot of damage ready to pump in. Baptiste's vertical movement isn't much to a hit scan rifle, and is often super easy to track, leading to maximum damage on the Baptiste in the air, sometimes just killing him outright if you're fast and effective enough before he can react. For tanks, Ramacha's new buff has made him way more able to get onto the Baptiste from time to time, let alone surviving for longer to keep blocking heals with his shield and slowing down targets with his vortex to focus him down. Ramacha isn't always able to deal damage to both Baptiste and his immortality field at the same time, but against his larger hitbox with just a bit of focus, it's basically impossible to miss your punches, meaning you'll be doing maximum damage with your punches, able to kill in even just 4 if you force cooldowns early. The gravity effect of the Ravenous Vortex is also ideal for keeping the Baptiste within your effective range, instead of using his vertical jump to get away fast. Ramacha is also great for focusing down a vitality field, most often being able to 2-shot it with a melee in his nemesis form, as well as getting his maximum staff damage on the structure, killing it in a little over a second. With a hero that can easily get a high minimum DPS against big targets, with just a bit of skill you can deal as consistent damage as Winston can with higher numbers, dealing around 100 to 115 DPS instead of just 60. His ultimate is also perfect to deal with a immortality field, since it only keeps you alive rather than stops the ultimate effect, so you'll keep annihilating while looking for the kill on the field. He's a solid option to catch Baptiste in his tracks, and with good tank pressure with his staff, he can often get onto the backline to look for that pick. Finally, for the other support to counter Baptiste, there's actually 2 heroes that can handle him well, with Iliari and Brigitte being the top 2 contenders. Iliari beats Baptiste in a way that he can't compete with, since his field is on a timer and Iliari's pylon isn't. In a long-range duel where neither of them can push forward to kill the other structure, Iliari will just outlast Bap, and have more damage potential at the same time as well, doing more DPS and having to focus less on healing outright, with her pylon doing most of it. But Iliari kinda doesn't count, since she's also a broken hero. For a less outright overpowered option on the niche side of things, Brig is ideal for helping your team push Baptiste, focusing down his lamp and finishing off if he tries to jump away. Her new whip shot is perfect for this. Brig's damage is effective on breaking the lamp, but critically her shield is great for soaking Bap's primary fire damage to hold on to the space she's taken. It's hard for Bap to get consistent damage on someone since he needs to do so much: reposition, heal himself, heal allies, damage the enemy tank, damage people aggressing him. It's a lot of things, so if you have some resistance to his damage, you just need to outlast his pressure, then keep inching forward in the meantime. That's it for 3 counters for the top 3 meta heroes in this season. Let me know in the comments what you do to deal with these crazy good heroes, and I'll see you next time.